I was in 4-H and I was in FFA. And I was the youngest person ever to win round robin at our county fair. I should explain what round robin is because people who didn't grow up with it hear county fair and picture a ribbon on a rabbit. Showmanship competitions are normally about your animal. You raise it, you train it, you know it. You know which way it likes to be turned, what spooks it, how it moves when it's nervous. Months of work. Round robin takes that away from you. In round robin, the winners of each species come together, and then you show everybody else's animals. You show the steer, you show the hog, you show the sheep, the lamb you have never touched, the animal that has never seen your face and doesn't like your hands and doesn't care that you're 12. Do you understand what that's actually testing? It is not testing whether you know your animal. It's testing whether you know animals. Whether the thing you learned is a set of memorized moves or whether it's real understanding you can carry into a situation you've never been in before, with an animal that has every reason to make you look foolish. You can't fake round robin. There's no relationship to hide behind. It's just you and something you've never met in front of a judge, and either you actually know what you're doing or the whole county finds out. I was the youngest person who ever won it there. I didn't know at 12 that I was learning the central idea of my entire career, but I was. Because here's the question I've asked in every restaurant I've ever walked into as a consultant, and it's the same question. Can this person do it with an animal they've never met? Your best server is wonderful with her regulars. Great. Put her at a foretop of strangers from out of town who are already unhappy. Now what? Your bartender is smooth on a Thursday with his crew. Fine. Put him on a Saturday with 2 call-outs and a new bar back. Now what? Your manager runs a beautiful shift when the schedule's full and the kitchen's clean. Wonderful. Give him a walkout and a broken dish machine at 7:15. Now what? I call it the repeatability test, and it is the hardest test in this business, and almost nobody is training for it. Because most restaurant training is showing somebody your animal. Here's how we do it here. Here's our steps of service. Here's the POS. Follow Jennifer for 3 days. And then we're surprised when the thing falls apart the moment conditions change. When Jennifer's off. When the room is different. When the guest doesn't behave the way the training scenario said guests behave. We trained them on the animal they knew. We never tested whether they understood animals. Something else about 4-H and FFA that I want to name, because it's rarer than it should be. Those programs made me a beginner in public. On purpose. Repeatedly. You show, you get judged, and a stranger tells you exactly what was wrong in front of everybody. And then, you go do it again. I was not fragile about criticism at 12. Nobody who came up through that is. And I think about that constantly now, watching restaurants that cannot correct an employee without it turning into a crisis, where a manager sits on feedback for 4 months because he doesn't know how to say a hard thing kindly, and then it comes out all at once, and somebody quits. I learned at 12 that being told what's wrong with your work is a gift, if the person telling you wants you to be good. That if is the entire job of leadership. I went into the military straight out of high school. I got pneumonia and an honorable discharge. That's the whole enlistment. It didn't run the way I planned it. I'm not going to make it more than it was or tell you it forged me. Plenty of people served longer and harder, and I won't stand on their story. But here's the thing I couldn't have said at 18 or at 40. That was the first time my body ended something for me. I didn't quit. I didn't wash out. I didn't decide it wasn't for me. I got sick, the decision got made somewhere above my head, and I went home. Honorable discharge. The paperwork says so, and I've never had a moment's shame about it. That word is on there for a reason. But I was 18, I had a plan, and my lungs ended it. I didn't understand then that I was getting an early rehearsal for something that would happen again 40 years later, at the other end of my working life. Different organ, same shape. The body decides. Then you find out what you're made of by what you do next. I'll come back to that. Here's what I actually carried out of it, and it's not what people expect. The military taught me that standards are a kindness. That's it. That's the whole thing I took. Say standards in a restaurant and watch people's faces. They hear rules, rigidity, a corporate binder that's going to squeeze the life out of a room that's supposed to feel warm. I've sat across from good owners telling me they don't want many standards because they want the place to feel like a home. I understand it, but it's backwards, and I know it's backwards because I've lived inside the alternative. In the service, everybody knows what's expected. The standard is stated. It's the same for everybody. It doesn't shift based on whether somebody likes you. And you know what that produces? Not coldness, safety. You're never guessing what the person above you wants today, never reading a mood to figure out whether you're in trouble. The information is available in advance, and it applies to everyone. Now go look at a restaurant with no real standards. What happens there is not freedom. The standard becomes whoever is in charge that night. Tuesday's manager wants it one way, Friday's another. The rule about phones depends on who's asking. The dress code applies to some people. That's not warm. That's an anxiety machine. Every employee is spending real energy that should be going to guests, figuring out today's rules and reading the room to see who's in a mood. I've said this a lot, and I'll say it here. A restaurant without standards doesn't have fewer rules. It has secret ones. And secret rules always favor whoever's closest to power. The manager's buddy, the server who's been there longest, the person who knows how to charm. I watched that happen to me later in my career, and I'll tell you about it because it's one of the sharpest lessons I have. The other thing I took was the habit of planning for what goes wrong. You don't plan for the good day. Anybody can execute on the good day. You plan for the day the equipment fails and somebody's hurt and the person in charge is unavailable. That's the discipline. What's the plan when it breaks? Restaurants almost never do this. We plan menus and schedules and covers. We plan for a full house on a Saturday. We don't plan for the walkout, the no-show cook, the guest who's had far too much and is about to become a legal problem, the employee who gets a phone call mid-shift and has to leave right now. None of those are rare. Every one will happen this year. Most will happen this month. And in most restaurants, the plan for all of it is, hope a good manager is on. That's not a plan. That's luck. I've spent the back half of my life trying to get luck out of this business.